figure everything. How's everybody doing today?
Good. How you doing?
You know, grassroots problems. Oh, thank you so much for letting me be on this Latin Cannapreneurs program. I'm really fortunate to know Gnarly and Princess, and I was so thankful you guys were able to come out to MJ Biz this year.
Yeah,
oh my God, me too! So great getting with y'all in Vegas this last November. God, wasn't that a crazy conference?
It was crazy. It was my first Latinas Cannapreneurs. At least it was the first time we went to Vegas and to MJ BizCon, and that was just overwhelming. I mean, I was at the expo in San Jose and New York, but just MJ BizCon and it's just another level.
There were so many events.
And then you want to step up.
Yeah, there were so many events. I was like, I feel so bad. So like, are you coming? I'm like, hold on. Yes, I can go for 15 minutes. But there was so much stuff. You know, it's not only the MJ Biz, you know, all around it. There's a lot of events. There's a lot of people. And that's kind of like some stuff that we wanted to talk to you. Because like you're in Vegas.
Yep.
And yeah, you're looking at the industry over there. You guys are in a recreational setting, right? And medical?
Yep. Good both.
Oh, nice. And you guys have dispensaries and everything everywhere?
Great dispensaries out here. Like, we're very fortunate to be able to have the plethora that we do and actually have, you know, not crazy prices. You know, they're not like pricing people out. You know, I always think they can be a little bit better, but it's still in the infancy phase. And we have to remind ourselves that, you know, so at least there is progress. And we have to be like, yay, progress.
Definitely. Definitely keep on celebrating progress and it'll all get better as we go.
Like, look what we're doing now. We're talking about like all of ideas and how this can be and what's going on in Vegas, what's going on with y'all. So we are making it better because we're showing up. And thank you, ladies, for that. I truly appreciate it. Like, I do. Takes a community, doesn't it?
No, thank you.
It's something really interesting because like before, like it wasn't an industry, and now I believe like in Vegas is one of the fourth industries that makes a lot of income over there, revenue.
They're making revenue. The community is building. They're doing events. They're bringing people out, and they're actually letting people know what they're doing. And you got to remember, this is Vegas. They understand how to regulate. Okay, they have figured out how to regulate sin. So marijuana, they're like, bah! we got it. You know, so it's nothing to them, you know, but they understand the importance of it and why we need legislation and why we need to talk to our patients and actually our community. We had let me show you this. I've never been to one of these in my life, and I got to go to one in Vegas. It was a cannabis town hall meeting.
Wow, amazing.
Wow. And I went to it, and this is when the governor, Steve Sisolak, was running. And so he came in, and before he was running, and he like asked everybody a bunch of questions, had a big open forum. And that makes people want to show up and be involved, you know, wants them to be in politics, wants them to come out and go, yeah, you know, I was living in California. Is it going to be like this? Or I was living in Texas. I love it here. You know, like getting people to stand up and ask the hard questions, and then having the officials who are in charge answer them or squirm.
Either or, but you won't get an answer out of them.
Frances, and I want to let everybody know, you know, and I want Kate to talk a little bit, but she's a sister veteran.
Yes,
so I want you to talk a little bit about you and what you've done and stuff, you know?
Yes, amazing. Yeah, we definitely, I know you guys have met and have different events, have assisted as veterans in the cannabis community of, you know, supporting cannabis. So that's amazing of all the work that you do. So we definitely wanted to learn a little bit more about what you do as, you know, women in cannabis. Because in Puerto Rico, our goal with Latinas Cannapreneurs, Latinas Cannabis Entrepreneurs, is to inspire, educate, and elevate. And you compose all of those. I mean, you're in the community, you're showing up, you are just a woman who's always in fight for you know what's right in cannabis and making sure everyone is included and it's inclusive. So so we definitely want to know more about what you do within cannabis. So tell us, what's the name of your organization? What does it do? And again, you're located in Nevada, so tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, as Gnarly and you explained, I am a local veteran, and that's actually how Gnarly and I met, because we were like, you're a veteran, I'm a veteran, let's be friends. Bonus.
And me in Vegas?
Oh my God. You know, and then she's nice. Look at that. So like, we have a really great package, you know, and it's like, how do we work this together? And as she's figured out and I figured out, everything takes time. So what I'm doing out here in Nevada is I'm picking back up Cannovate, and we are doing these events. I've been doing a lot of groundwork, like ground pounding, and figuring out who the players are, who are not, who are actually really doing real world things. Like this coming Friday, JC Coates is doing culture and cannabis at CMXX, and it is this great thing. It's just the second one that they're doing. The one that they did last month was wonderful. They have vendors, they have people coming out, they have musicians, they had a catwalk last time. Cannabis. You know, you had this just different type of people coming in and coming together, and that's what we're needing. So with that, I started going and seeing all the people that are doing things, and, you know, Kannovate started seeing, you know, how can we help? Where is our niche out here? And so we decided that we're going to start helping people with tourism, because that is the biggest thing that people reach out to me in Vegas, and they're like, hey, I'm coming to Vegas. Where are all the cannabis events? You know, and I'm like, hold on, you know, and like I'm doing research, and, you know, it's one of those things. Why don't we just do a tour? I have all these amazing connections. I have all these wonderful people wanting to come to Vegas and become educated, have a safe space, like for real, talk about hard stuff, like what's a dab rig? What, you know, like I remember Gnarly and I have taught like 2 MJ business in a row how to use a dab rig. Like her and I always end up at the dab rig at these events. And we're like, so
I just want to mention it was a big rig made by it was Baker, Jerome Baker, one of Jerome Baker's big, huge ass rig. We were teaching a lot of people how to use it, so
it was really cool. Like, and so that's what we're doing as a group, is we're educating, and if we do that constantly, we're going to be able to build the industry. You got to have competition. When people are like, I want to kill the competition, and I'm like, no, because you know what, McDonald's and Burger King, I want to be that level one day. So you got to have that competition. So we have to foster it between one another, you know, and you want that because it makes you better. It makes you want it more. And that's what I love about the cannabis industry. We've only touched just the very tip of what cannabis can do. You know, we don't even know what hemp can do, you know, like it's just, there's just all these things and unknowns. So there's space for everybody. You just have to show up, you know, become educated, read the books, understand the people that came before you, learn your history, because the more that you do that, the more you can be involved. So we have something called Dreamcatcher Tours that we launched about 2 weeks ago, and it's been great. We've actually taken tours on Planet 13. We've taken them to Chiba Hut. This is a really cool restaurant out here. It's called Chiba Hut, and it is literally sandwiches and soups. And you think of any type of stoner food, like my favorite thing are the Cinnamon Toast Crunch that they make with this like marshmallow. Oh, it's so good, man. Like, so good.
I have a question. How do you see these tours helping the community and the industry? Because in our island, they're banned, they're not allowed. But we want to know, like, how does these tours help the industry and the people who go over there?
That's a great question. So how it would help the industry and tourism is that we are giving a safe space for education. People that would never set foot in a dispensary, we can actually walk them around and then explain things to them. This is weed. These little things on the side are percentages. This is CBN and CBG. And they're going to be like, what's that? They need someone to educate them. You know, and
it's overwhelming.
It's so overwhelming. You walk into places and you're like, I just know weed. I don't understand what's the difference between an edible and a concentrate and a vape pen and dabs and, you know, salves and bath bombs, you know, like
especially with tourism. Like, for example, it was my first time there in Nevada, and it was so overwhelming just because, you know, and then recreational, because again, in Puerto Rico, we only allow medicinal and still, you know, private consumption in your house, not public. So there's not this cannabis lounges, even the events going. I was like, oh my God, can we do this? Literally, I asked her, can we do this? Can we take some of this? She's like, yeah. So again, it's a little bit of shocking coming from the island, knowing that it's so, it's medical, but just the fact that it has so much potential, especially here in Puerto Rico as tourism grows. I mean, we're getting thousands of tourists in cruise, and just imagine what, you comparing it to Vegas, the tourism and the education that is definitely needed to all those people to just be educated in a safe environment.
That's true, because a lot of these people reaching out to me are not like in their 20s. They're like late 30s, early 40s, want to bring their mom, like
they don't want to get in trouble.
What?
They don't want to get in trouble,
right? Like they want to bring these, like, because they want to show that this is a real thing. This isn't just there's a real store, there's a real grow, there's a real place to eat, there's a safe space. They're going to educate us, and we're going to sleep well tonight. Like that's what we need. People are so scared to ask questions because they don't want to feel stupid. And you have to explain to them, cannabis is constantly changing. There's some new research coming out all the time. So we are always learning. The people that think that they're experts, they're still learning, So come join this community, and we would love to pass a joint around and teach you about some education.
Oh, man.
I was just talking to some growers in Oregon, and they just developed a new strain. It's crazy. It's going to be out in this next in some next event in the summer and at the end of the year. But it's a crazy strain. Like last year, they did Freak Show in the Cannabis Cup, and now this year, these Oregon growers just show me this. It's different, completely different. So it's cannabis. There's
always evolving. It's always changing. Yeah.
And whenever
you got Cali weed, you got Washington weed, you got Nevada weed. Nevada weed is drastically different than Colorado weed. Colorado weed is vastly different than anything in the East Coast.
Really dry.
Yes, right? So the orange peel, cut an orange peel.
Love you, Colorado.
Give it a little bounce. So it's one of those things that, at the end of the day, my veteran, community, the cannabis community, the women community, the entrepreneur community, just all these communities we need to build a bridge into to bring them together because they all intertwine.
They do. What they have in common is cannabis. That's what we all have in common.
Yeah, exactly. And the more educated, go ahead.
You can bring your knowledge and your skills to this industry and continue. Like you're not touching the plant. You're not over there like growing, having a big grow and dispensary. No, you're bringing your skills over here to though. You also do real estate. You were mentioned.
So tell us a little bit about your beginnings. Like you were in cannabis with Kannovate. So, but what did you do before cannabis and developing Kannovate?
I first was in the military for 6 years. I was in the United States Navy, and I was a Fleet Marine Force, had with the Marines for about 4.5 years. Got to do my tour in Iraq, Okinawa, all those amazing places.
I used to live in Sasebo, actually. I wasn't in the Navy, but I was raised within the Navy family. And I used to live in Sasebo, Japan. That's where I graduated there.
I always do. That's like, I took it so for granted when I was there because I was in my class.
We always get bored. Every time we're in any base, we always get bored. We gotta get and military people like me. I was a sergeant, so I had people assigned to me. Like I had to keep my troops busy because if not, get in trouble.
Yep. Like it's one of those things. You're like, hey, you want to go to Kuma Beach and go paddle?
I just told them it's all what you make it. I tell everybody who comes to the base, it's all what you make of it. It's all what you make of it.
You got to find that core group that wants to go do stuff. But did that for about 6 years. And I got my degree from Texas Women's University because I'm originally from Texas. And that's where I started my cannabis journey, which sounds completely ironic since prohibition started in El Paso in Texas. And that's like ground zero for cannabis prohibition. So started my career in cannabis on the political activist side. The 2016 85th legislative session with Senator Jose Menendez. I got asked with Amanda Berard and a couple other individuals to introduce the SB 269 medical marijuana bill in the state of Texas. And we had just gotten the teacup bill approved in the previous one, but it was not going to be allowed to be expanded. There was a ruling that Stephanie Click had put in there that stating if she had gotten it passed that she wouldn't expand it the next session. So that means that it would take another 4 years to even try to expand that first bill. So we were like, okay, we got to figure out how to get another bill in there, right? Like, are you keeping helping me because it only can help like I think 150,000% of the population in Texas. We have the is claimed to be the worst bill ever written for cannabis ever is in the state of Texas. Oklahoma is #1 best bill. Yeah, like we're right next to each other, and like we're all like in Texas scratching our heads, going, "How did Oklahoma get it before us?" I love my people in Oklahoma, but I'm like, what? But it's just, I started getting in the political arena and I started seeing where the money was going and how many years, truthfully, like risk, managed or risk analysis with marketing to see, is Texas actually going to be able to make movement in the state house? And then I realized going and traveling and going to all these different states and meeting people and talking to people, everybody thinks Texas is stupid because we just don't get signatures. And then I have to remind people, we don't have ballot initiative. So like, that doesn't count. We can't do that. We lost that sometime like in the 80s. So we have to go do the thing during legislation to go and talk to senators and representatives and go march the halls and fingers crossed they agree with us, so they'll vote that way. Not a very good way for the people. It's not. So I decided, after a while that I was going to go and with my husband, we were going to move to California. Started working as a public relations marketing director for a dispensary out there and realized, doing my other risk management, that 6 months from now, California was probably not going to be very beneficial. And I was like, and the cost of living in California is atrocious.
Very high. Yes.
Wow.
I went to San Jose this year and it was like, wow, you gotta have, obviously people live there and they're locals, but the cost of living.
They bought like 20, 30 years ago. You know what I mean? Like they didn't buy like during now. So they're sitting on like a really lot of nice equity and stuff like that. But if you're a new person trying with a small business, you will not make it in California. But
very hard.
We were in California together and it was just
hard. Like I was like, girl, don't move here. Don't move here. No. Because I know you're kind of thinking about some places, but so that's kind of like I did that, and I did this, event this summer where I traveled around with my amazing partner, who is Clay Morgan. He works with me on Cannovate and real estate. Our company in real estate is HET Realty. So if you're looking to relocate out to Nevada, Las Vegas, or anywhere in the 50 states, or you need help with VA loans or anything, we can help you. We can. We have a big, massive, network, as everybody, as Gnarly knows, like to help where we can, not just helping you sell or buy or invest, but if you have questions, what's a homestead? What are the rates on the VA loan? How do I get into that? I'm here to be a resource for you to help you do that because we want you to use your benefits. We want you to have a home. The strongest thing in the United States to this day is land and real estate. You have to have land and real estate for everything that you do. Roads, internet connections, like anything you want to do, even a small business, you have to have internet, so you have to have somewhere to be. So you have to remember that is the strongest all the time. And that's kind of, where I started getting really back into Cannabis out here in Vegas, is because there is a need for people to have a small place to go and to be able to either consume, to be educated, and not be told that they're stupid or someone hustling them to buy like 200 or 250 an ounce or something like that. And they're like, come on, man, they're just like pressuring them. We need people to take their time like we did. We didn't jump into this immediately. We had to go like Google,
it's a transition time, yes.
And like go talk to friends. Well, that's what phase they're on. So don't rush them through it. Give them that courtesy, give them that time, because I guarantee you they're going to teach you something that you didn't catch because you've been too busy looking at something else. They will become a resource for you. The more you help with the community, the more the resources will help with one another. And that's all we're trying to do. There's some sharks out there and you got to be careful with those people. So if we can start building a good industry, those sharks will go away.
And the industry needs to run with the community. If the community doesn't help them, if the accountants doesn't help, if the people who cleans doesn't help, because I it's been rough at the beginning. You go to a person, you're like, hey, you want to work for me or you want to work in the cannabis industry? And they're like, oh, I don't know.
I know that no.
Like,
and it's I know it's legal. It's interesting now from 3 years ago to now how much people are now who have children that are 22, 23, and they are sending them to me to get to become an intern, Or how do they get into the industry? And they have degrees, they're getting some sort of skill, and they're looking for an internship now, and they're thinking cannabis is one. That is big.
That is. I mean, it's something that was non-existent a couple of years ago within our generation. That's something that I try to people see, like, this is the end of prohibition. This is big. We're living through an end of an era type of thing. You know, end of alcohol prohibition. This is kind of like this thing. So the fact that we're living through it, we definitely have to make sure that everyone gets the knowledge and acquainted. And again, it's something that we're all learning. It's not something that like you say, you've been to different industries and you had such great knowledge, because from Texas to California to Vegas, that's just great insight that it can't be acquired, you know, by just looking into it. You've been there, you were there, you were a part of that movement.
And, you know, we have to be careful what we read. That's also another big thing. You know, a lot of people are seeing these pay-to-play magazines and are thinking these people are key players, and they go to try to work for them, and these people are losing their asses. You know, or they have like their ninth investor and they haven't made any money and they keep trying to grow their company. So we have to also protect the new industry coming in, that they don't get burned out, they don't get hoodwinked or charlataned or whatever, because we need that.
We give a background, yes.
Yes, we don't need bad publicity of somebody running off going, they're just all snakes. You know, like, that's not all of us. You know, they're putting us all in this thing because there has been that mentality. You know, and we have a big culture that's been around for 80 years. We've had probably 4 generations of farmers, 4 generations of people who have either, you know, dealt with weed or whatever, you know, and we have to figure out how to bridge that gap. It's not going away, that culture. We just have to figure out how we become the bridges. And I think females and veterans, I think they are a big, big part of that. Because they understand how to be diplomatic. They understand that we have to listen to all sides. We're the ones usually having to deal with the kids going, okay, tell me your side, you got 2 seconds, go. You know, like, we're the ones always trying to mediate and trying to make everything over. And people always expect us to be volunteers, and it's kind of a double-edged sword sometimes. And so now we're stepping up as the female, you know, empowerment movement and saying, no, this is not volunteer time. This is, you have to pay me. Like, I have to put my
not a hobby, yes.
I'm a winner in my family, you know, like, I have great ideas because you found me and you want to use them. So you're going to pay me for that. And that's where we need to start giving a lot of voices to women in the industry, is you do not have to volunteer to come in, and you need to first find out if it's a nonprofit or for-profit. If it is for-profit, do not volunteer for this organization. Because I'm going to tell you right now, they're supposed to be paying you.
Yeah, they go away. You know,
and then they like disappear or something else happens. So we have to do better as women in this industry to not be so hungry to start something. We have to be explaining in this industry in cannabis, you have to have side jobs. You do. Do not think you're going to jump into it immediately and think it's not going to happen.
Yes.
It's not. I mean, one of the biggest organizations right now for cannabis, and they're getting a class action lawsuit against them from their employees, because their benefits are bad, how they're being worked, everything. So we're still smoothing a lot of stuff out in this industry, and we're just asking people to come in and help us, give us resources. You know, they may have a better answer on how to do this or whatever, and we've been over here trying to keep this going. I mean, you have all these amazing, you know, people like Dennis Perone and Debbie Goldsberry and Omar Figueroa and Jackie Goen, who are doing all this great stuff to move, you know, stuff forward in California. And each state has their own amazing people. You know, Todd Larkin in Oklahoma and Ardmore, he's a veteran. He like has opened up a store up there, Pure Wellness CBD, and they just switched over to THC, and they opened up their second one last week. So it is rocking and rolling in all these other states. We just have to figure out how to catch up. So that's kind of like how I got here. It was just more of my background, meeting amazing people along the way, taking chances, having an amazing partner. I could not be me without Morgan. Like, I couldn't.
It's awesome. Clay is awesome. Clay, yeah, no, I love him. Say hi to him.
Oh, I will. I love him.
He's really good. He's all the time on there. And I wanted to mention, because I remember, and you know, something that we should not forget, it's, you know, patients. And I remember when you were in Texas, you recorded patients leaving the states because they needed to be medical refugees in another state. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So back in 2015, I just didn't know what to do. It was in the beginning of I have all these people sending me messages all the time on Facebook, and they want me to help them. And I'm like, how do I help them? Like, I don't really have any resources. And then I had to like sit down and think, it's like, yes, I do. I have the people. You know, I have the people that I actually can reach out to help coordinate all these other people into resources. And it was a learning curve. And then I started Cannabis Connect 2.0, where I would just do weekly updates, what was going on in the Capitol, what was going on in Texas, started, you know, these small little book clubs that we would do in Denton at the Barley and Board. Love that place. Just started really getting people to show up, and like, it wasn't going to be a smoke field type environment where you feel like on any minute we're going to get raided. Like, everybody hates that feeling, okay? It was literally, you came, you broke bread with one another, you talked about the book. I sometimes was able to get the author to come and speak. So it was more of a normal environment that people can come and tiptoe into it. And then if they wanted to go to one of the other events or something like that, they at least had a foundation for walking in. I probably explained CB1 and CB2 and the endocannabinoid system every single time I had a meeting, because I always had new people, you know, and they needed to start somewhere. They didn't even know what cannabinoids were. And I had to be like, okay, step one, cannabinoids, you know, but I had to be that person so they could go to their next level. Our whole goal is to bring them in and get them to the next level and not make them feel stupid, because they may be the one that cures cancer. So like, we need them, you know? And so that's kind of, and like, a lot of people in cannabis think they have to be these stars. Like, I don't know why, but like, they all are like trying to be the star. And I'm like, okay, so if your Instagram gets shut down, what do you do?
Hope you make a living.
What do you do? You know, so you got to give more to the community than just your face. You got to show up. You got to have value, and you have to make sure that you know you have value and where do you fit. And if it's only on Instagram, cool, but I bet there's more to you than just that. And you haven't really seen
There's a talent. There's a talent behind that. That's what we need. That's what we need. That's what the industry needs.
Yes, but we have to get them to start thinking long term. We don't want them to start thinking when the Instagram goes away. We want them to start thinking 3 steps ahead like a chess game. That's how we will keep our people here. So we have to be imparting that and pushing that out into the universe. And so that's kind of what I was doing in Texas. I was going to the Capitol and I was meeting all these amazing people who were showing up and stepping up, and started just picking up my phone and recording them. Tell me your story. What is your origin story? I started this thing going around asking people's origin stories. How did you, like, kind of like, you know, X-Men and Wolverine and all them, like, what's your origin story? I know, but you know, that stuff. And people correlate because everybody has a reason how they came into this industry, and they want to tell you because they're bonding. They're a part of the community, what we need, why we're doing this, you know? And I started deciding, okay, I'm going to go to Colorado. And it's because one of my good friends, Michelle Walker, who I was lobbying with, her son V, she ended up having to leave. Her kid got really sick, couldn't stay in Texas, needed his medicine. She went out there, and she was on, I think, a 10 or 15-year waiting list in Texas. And when she got the call for benefits for her kid, and when she got to Colorado, I think she was on a 3-week waiting list.
Oh, wow. That's just
so we have some disparities in certain states that are not transferring over to disability. Texas is probably one of the worst places if you're disabled. I mean, really. Yeah, so it's not a good place to be. They used to have like the best, well, they still have some really great, you know, hospitals, like Scottish Rise Hospital. Like my brother grew up in that one. Like that one's, I still always remember the bikes. When you walk in, there was like these bikes and these like guy with like a flyer helmet on, and he was riding up in the air. And when I was a kid, I was like, how is he doing that? You know, and those are those things that I remember. I don't remember all the crazy stuff he went through at Scottish Rite. I just remember all the happy times. They made it a nice environment for the family. And that's where I really understand community, is that in families, there are going to be sick people. There are going to be people that are going to have an accident or something. And we need to make sure that we're educating them before they have an accident, before they get sick, that they know that cannabis is an alternative. That is not just an alternative. It can be the first line of defense, not the last. Because we are taught in our society, you have to go through all this Western medicine first, and then let's start talking about eating apples and fruits and all of this crap.
And it should be backwards. That's the thing. We should start by going, you know, healthy, natural, you know, option first, and then build up to it.
And you know,
and that's the way. The principle is if you are doing natural medicine or if you are consuming a lot of natural fruits and vegetables, you're not supposed to get sick.
Correct. But it's one of those things that we're not educating people that they think that, you know.
I mean, since we're little, it's been in the constant how we've been raised. It's been thought that it was okay to eat this kinds of food, veggies, and it's a way of thinking and it's a way of educating people how. But again, just with medicine, it's the same thing. Having to educate people on here, there are other options. It's just not, opioids or other type of medication that even has worse side effects in the condition you're probably treating. So it's definitely a community, and it's definitely have to be educated about it. So what is one of the most rewarding? I know you've been like everywhere within the industry in Texas, and you will obviously explain the issues with Texas. But what has been the most rewarding experience? And maybe you could tell us one of them when it comes to cannabis.
The most rewarding is when I get to see when medicine works. Like I always, talk about the time Gnarly and I were at MJ Biz the first time, and someone was super mean to us, and we were just like, what? We just stood there for a second, and her Parkinson's started to act up. And I remember we looked at each other, and I was just like, let's go outside. And as soon as she started smoking, and her voice was real kind of like shaky at first from the Parkinson's, and then all of a sudden it was full force. Like she was like back at it. She was telling me how she was mad at this person, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, you're good again. Okay, you're good again. Do something else, like
it's been action.
Because I knew, okay, we need to walk away. We need to get ourselves back composed, and then we're gonna go back and take on the world, right? And then we went back to our table and we sat down. We were like, that one's a bitch. Don't talk to her. Move forward, because you can't make people like you, and that's one of the things I try to really impart to people is don't spend your time trying to get this one person to like you. Pivot. I guarantee you, there's 3 or 4 people you haven't met yet that are so much more interesting. I'll tell you that right now. So do that. Like everybody thinks there's this one pie in cannabis, and it's only these 10 people that you can talk to, when they don't realize everything is starting to become legal. And it's going to spread out. And when Europe becomes legal, they have better places to grow weed. So we need to be nice to everybody, like if you want to stay in this game. Because if you think you're on the top, cannabis changes like that. So it's good to network. It is good to be good to people. Referrals, trying to build the industry, making sure people get paid, giving someone a good contact. Make sure you do your research before you hand somebody off. These are things we need to be imparting to other people in the industry, because nothing is worse is to hand off a good friend of yours to a contact you kind of know, and then they make it a horrible situation, and then that person calls you back and they're like, this person and blah, and you're like, ugh. So do your research before you make connections with other people, because you don't want to put them in a bad situation. Your last conversation should be your best conversation in your life, because you don't know where that person's going to go or how that's going to make them feel as they're leaving, and sometimes, and it sucks. I love having a conversation where my husband leaves in the morning, because the last thing we do is we're like, you're the best, you're going to crush it, you're going to crush it. And then he leaves, and then I go about my life, but
help each other out.
Yes, we're going to do this.
That manifests. Again, you're sending those energies and you're getting them back. It manifests itself within everything that you do throughout the day. So that's amazing.
Wonderful. And, so thank you guys so much for asking me to come on and really impart what's going on over here in Vegas. Amazing things. They have the lounge license coming up. There's going to be 3 new lounges that's going to be happening. We're really excited about that. We have the Cannabis Museum out here. That's super cool combination. We have a lot of other things coming on board with cannabis events. There's just going to be an amazing type of atmosphere out here that we're trying to create. And super excited about it. Oh, hey! Where is she?
She's been playing with the ball around.
Okay.
Lots of attention from mommy. That's it.
I know.
Just feeling ignored.
I have little Stu in the background, if you can see him right there.
Oh, he's hiding.
He is. He's taking his morning siesta.
I don't want to do this right now.
He's like, stop, no camera, stop, mom, stop. Yep.
That's enough. Well, again, thank you so much, Kate, for your information. We look forward, hopefully, if we go, next year, which we're kind of trying to go this year to MJ BizCon, some time and spend some time with you and all the great things that you're doing with cannabis and educating the community. So we wish you the best. Thank you again for being with us and educating us about what's going on in the different industries in Vegas. Hi, Nina.
Thank you so much, ladies, for having me on. And please look us up at Cannovate. And also, we will be having a Dream Captures up momentarily. And if you need anything in real estate, please, I would love to help out the cannabis industry and the veteran community or all the communities as much as I can. And I look forward
The Las Vegas contact would be Cannabis. So
yeah, there you go, Cannabis. So, I cannot wait to see you guys take off and do some amazing things and see the next people you guys interview. I know it's going to be amazing.
thank you so much. Well, thank you for your time. You guys have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.